All right, everyone, please engage. Data is a gross reduction of reality, but I still need it. So on that note, we're going to start with a survey. I'd like you to think about the following 3 questions, and please rate your answers from 0, not at all, to 5, strongly agree. Are we here because we want to improve quality of life? Who hopes to bring our culture into right relationship? By right relationship, I mean symbiotic, or a system of balanced exchanges, reflected in mutual respect and understanding. Who is here to bring into reality a vision or future you believe in? The quantitative data from these questions, framed from my perspective, is one-dimensional. While the data can be represented in many forms, it does not tell each of your stories. In fact, it is more revealing of my own. These questions could be asked in a qualitative or 2D way, but that requires more time and the data is more difficult to process. However, building a framework to connect to layered dimensions of data can provide an interdisciplinary, comprehensive profile. Because our world offers such a vast amount of data, economic systems have chosen to ignore limitations of growth and physical constraints, following overly simplified formulas that prioritize money over life. This is the problem: an inevitable decline in resources while pollution and consumption continue. Much of economics is based on manipulated linear trends, but it is crucial to understand exactly how these constructs are lies and how we are all participants. Quantum physics tells us that the observer and the observed are intrinsically linked. When we seek, we find. If I am asking the questions, I will learn what I want to know, but I will not learn anything you have to teach me unless I let you lead. In this presentation, I will illustrate a mathematical interpretation of reality that provides a lens through which to build common ground for creating wholeness and self-organizing communities. Seeing how our reality is reduced to data within the first 3 dimensions which bind our global economic and government structures, i.e. the system, provides a tool for hacking the system through understanding its constraints. The 4th and 5th dimensions, adding variables of time, must be harnessed to reimagine constraints, transforming oppressive systems towards right relationship. If you ask why self-organizing communities, self-organizing is an important principle in nature that builds complex, growing systems naturally through patterns and mathematics. Most disciplines focus on isolated, discrete problems because these can be solved cleanly and definitively. But what if we make our goal to join discourses, connecting our fields of knowledge to fill in the void, simulates interconnected continuums that provide stability in nature? We see this from the small mycelium fungal networks throughout the soil, through Milky Way dark matter maps connecting our entire universe. Before I progress further into my explanation of the 5 dimensions we have access to, I shall tell you a story to make a 5th dimensional experience tangible. The following dream that I recorded June 21st, 2023 at 5 a.m. and labeled Microbial Medium to Nirvana is the reason why I'm here. I experienced a socialist future for this country, built on the bones of our wasteful cradle-to-grave patriarchal capitalist system. Everything was more crowded: the roads, the sidewalks, the air with pollutants, the grocery store with hordes cluttered around the perceived scarcity of the dwindling free government-funded items. I had continued my isolated path of being as sustainable as possible on my own, without engaging in a system which seemed too corroded in corruption to fix, while progress mostly seemed to stand still without the incentives of capitalism. There was a single new technology, a reuse pod, a personal biodigester subsidized by the government for those willing to disconnect their sanitary service from the main due to overflowing sewage capacities. I can cook dinner with the biogas from the compost, and the pod contains a greenhouse. Because of the dangerously polluted air, canisters of clean air were sold at the grocery store, but this pod has a mask with which to inhale the carbon-sequestered oxygenated air from the plants. I retrofitted my pod with a chamber in which I could breathe the clean air, looking up towards the hazy sky at night, hoping to catch glimpses of the stars while lying down, cradled in the greenhouse compost. There, I was able to travel to the next layer of dreams. I experienced a perfect future city, glass buildings with integrated solar panels, prism edging, an organic form curved beautifully away from the open walkways below, casting rainbows and holographic simulations through the paths of movement. Rivers of light and energy flow within this lower layer of the city, dedicated to public spaces such as nutrition centers, libraries, schools, hospitals, and places of recreation and collaboration. In the light, fruit-bearing trees and vegetables grow with open access to all. Culture is integrated into society that inspires participation and community. Everything people need is produced in this place with the assistance of AI robots and drones, serving only life-supporting purposes. Every light simulation contributes something valuable to society. Children generate power through playground equipment designed to collect their mechanical energy. Gray water is judiciously reused for plants and vegetation throughout the city. There is room for sharing and generosity, but not for waste. Eventually, unable to dream of any other place, I broke out of the dream city for a single chance to explore the most gorgeous, unadulterated earth I have ever seen. However, having broken the order of the city, the system found me and assigned me a new position in addition to my current role as an environmental engineer. The government is designing this future city on a great network of computers, and I became part of the team designing the underlying compost technology with nanobots that recaptures and reuses all waste materials from the city. I was no longer allowed dreams, working day and night, and by not fully utilizing my skills towards a solution with intention, I became a mechanism. Now, we could analyze this dream from a Freudian perspective of fears and desires, but if not a message of purpose from something greater than myself, this is more logically interpreted with the Jungian philosophy as a connection to the collective unconscious. My meditations on this dream have led me to the conclusion that I must work with the system, government, academic community in order to understand the flow of what is considered reality by general consensus, and joining with that flow, gain the ability to alter it within the borderlands. Typically, when I write about my dreams, I use present tense. Though this was a future, and I could have portrayed it as such, I utilized past tense for the items that I do not wish to include in my future, and present for those elements I accept as part of my vision. Whether or not I can bring a reality that I am satisfied with into being, actively participating in a vision of the future I see, holds space for that future of right relationship, putting stock into correcting ecosystem imbalances. The shift in my experience because of this dream shows that I have not simply reacted along a continuous timeline, but instead have worked within 2 dimensions of time to alter my position within the plane of time. This is a way we can work with quantum or 5D data. Now that I've given you a glimpse of the sky beyond the emergent layer, let me take you to the ground floor, the first dimension. We know the first dimension as a line. Data in zeros and ones is represented by a single dimension. We are all reduced to single-dimensional data every day in so many ways, with or without our consent. This gives nearly infinite ways for our stories to be taken out of context, and yet they are. Numbers are presented differently on the same topic, giving bipolar arguments of battling statistics. China is said to have more carbon emissions than the US, but not per capita and not cumulatively. Left versus right is a 1D binary thought process. I do not provide this explanation as a hierarchy where one dimension is more important than another, but to explain an interconnected system of our reality, which data describes. Although ethics principles and philosophers have long told us that data is subjective, and there is no objective reality, our society is forging forward with data because it creates a simulation of objective reality. Every dimension contains negative and positive aspects which we can tangibly associate with numbers. All can be manipulated, but understanding how reality is reduced provides a tool for presenting the rest of the story. The last shall be first, and the first last is one-dimensional, where we all stay in a single file line, and the directly opposing forces in this rhetoric would inevitably incur violence, which is a byproduct of reduction from an oppressive system. While socialism and capitalism are often perceived as diametrically opposed systems, the overlap of terms like capital and labor highlights their shared focus on resource distribution, production, and economic structures. By transcending the simplified 1D perspective, we can explore multidimensional paradigms of life beyond their limitations. Straight lines in nature occur in patterns connecting more complex systems. The focus on single-dimensional variables as a central objective of global connection is why capital dominates our systems. As we see in nature, what we focus on grows. Two-dimensional data describes a plane, the possible interactions of two variables, and duality. This is the math of geometry and trigonometry. Interconnected systems need at least two dimensions of description. Our linear economy doesn't properly account for inevitably continuing feedback loops. Within our ecosystem, a circular economy can accommodate where things come from and where things go, taking away the assumption that we can simply throw things away. Adding a third dimension brings us to calculus. Sound requires 3 dimensions of space. Waves, which are represented by a 2D plane, are interpreted over time, and the waves themselves unfold into space with an X, Y, and Z dimension. Thus, the story being told is 3-dimensional as it requires space. Money is at most a 3D concept, though most typically a single dimension. Most money today is just zeros and ones, represented by a value that cannot transcend time or space. Bartering is a 3D economic concept, because it utilizes physical things of tangible purpose. Materialism, a philosophy that describes our 3D existence, encompasses and is bound by 3 dimensions of space, which describes our physical experience. The earth resonates in 4 dimensions, tied to cycles of time, which must be invested for harvest and extraction. We work with this data described by differential equations and modeling software. As we seek justice, equity, and sustainability in a 4-dimensional space and time, we are constantly forced to justify it in reduced forms of lower dimensional description. Communities are frustrated by academics coming in and collecting their data and leaving. The earth cannot continue to suffer the constant bombardment of unclosed feedback loops from a civilization that does not understand the consequences of time. Regenerative capitalism is a concept that can tie money to the 4th dimension, but that change starts with better representing reality and interconnectedness in data. A green revolution is underway with ever more intensive extraction mechanisms and even larger feedback loops posed as solutions. Regenerative is a principle of building in nature where nothing is wasted. It is biomimicry found in growing, complex, self-organizing systems, such as within the Amazon rainforest. Archaeological discoveries have revealed that indigenous pre-Columbian populations played an active role in shaping the Amazon's ecosystem due to the anthropogenic soil containing recycled human waste called terra preta or biochar that heated this waste and put it back into the soil, giving it nutrients. This is an example of regenerative land practice from culture and right relationship with the earth that we must look to for emergent strategy that can sustain a complex integrated system. Strategy that rewards what is right and what is good instead of tearing down systems such as in cancel culture and critical theories. Virtually every indigenous and ancient culture on this planet accessed the fifth dimension, the realm of quantum physics, as indicated by traditions of dreaming, spirit quests, visioning, and interacting with nature in a way that seeks guides. The fifth dimension is what we experience when we accept there is not a single timeline, but many timelines, options that we can manipulate from our origin of now on the XY plane of time. Adding a variable in each dimension mathematically equates to continuing infinite versions of the dimension before it. The industrialized world's reduced data does not have the capacity to comprehend indigenous and traditional ecological knowledge, therefore mystifying and irrationalizing intuitive practices. The metaverse is coming, thanks to AI giving the capability for data to enter fifth dimensional capacities. There are heroes, poetic revolutionaries, facilitators, visionaries, teachers, artists, authors out there in our country, in our world, affecting futures. What worlds could we imagine together? Are we capable of owning that visionary capability instead of handing it over to data? If we elevate ourselves to higher dimensions, the realm of vision and transformation, we have the capability to embed regenerative principles into systems by using collaborative, nature-based designs and policy, allowing us to harmonize technological advances with ethical, ecological stewardship. Math offers an interconnected framework, but literacy must increase so that manipulation decreases. Patterns repeat from quarks and atoms through solar systems and galaxies, and this is the math that Galileo Galilei was talking about when he said mathematics is the language with which God has written the universe. This phrase has been altered and manipulated by philosophers, by others throughout time, not understanding that we're not talking about economics, we're not talking about reduced forms of mathematics that make assumptions and arithmetic. We're talking about patterns. We're talking about what connects us. As we depart, I have a dedication, for I am grateful for our supportive communication. Your ideas and unique interpretations, may we stand strong in this quest for our generation. Stand up, rise, activate, engage and participate, choose what to facilitate, envision what you anticipate. In your wake there's wonder, you miracles, emotion, and a world which seeks to own your own imagination. And if I inspire you, then let you inspire me, and we can join in song, and with our voices we'll be free. I want everyone to take back your imagination, take back your vision of the world, and see how it might fit into a larger vision and a larger mission, where the world can have many worlds within it. I know that if we hold space for each other's visions and missions, we can achieve the Zapatista vision to weave a world where many worlds fit. All we touch, we change, and that change resonates in feedback loops from our interactions, transforming our world. I thank you for listening to this. There are many sources for the mathematics within this presentation. I feel that works in the 70s, such as the wild swinging pendulum and the Tao of physics, and many others have given me inspiration. Love and Math. These are some academic articles that you can look to for support for math as a framework for understanding nature and the universe. There's more on right relationship. Beyond this, Adrienne Marie Brown's Emergent Strategy is something that has been incredibly inspirational. Our ecosystem does not exist in a vacuum. We are a continuum. When we say system, we're always reducing systems. This is much of the work of Donella Meadows, who explained how data and making systems reduces reality, but if we think in systems, we can start to know how we're all connected. There are many sources of vision as a tool that can help create realities. I see how this is connected to quantum physics. This is not just an esoteric point of view, but there is a whole lot of many more sources than all of these for support. These are more mathematical sources. And I thank you for listening to this presentation, for considering the different dimensions that we can experience in life and recognizing that these are all happening at once. This work is contributing towards an article that I'm writing for the Journal on the Study of Religion, Nature, and Science and Culture. Religion, Nature, and Culture. And I hope that article does get published. If not, I will continue this work throughout my life to try to create unifying visions for co-collaboration, creating self-organizing systems, because I believe humans are more, and I believe that we can all be all that we are. And if we are allowed to be everything that we are, that's when we can create a beautiful world that allows all of our visions. Thank you.